One ETF that made the most money in its first year was the QS, NASDAQ 100 QS, which traded in NASDAQ technology stocks and made $5 billion. This ETF didn't start until now. These ETFs could do 10 times that, and I don't think we'll stop there. I think the second year could be even bigger. Look, if you zoom out, you can see that wealth managers around the world are in charge of $100 trillion. How much is 1% of $10,000? It costs $1 trillion. $10 billion have come in. That's 1% of $1 trillion. We should be happy and excited, but we still have a long way to go. Chief Executive Officer of Bitwise Matt Hogan said that spot Bitcoin. It is expected that about $50 billion will move into ETFs over the next 5 years. However, the spot Bitcoin ETFs have been a huge hit, much bigger than anyone thought it would be. Before a few weeks, Matt went on a trip to different cities to try to get thousands of big investors to buy Bitwise's BITB Bitcoin ETF as an investment. Matt says that these investors were very interested in the spot Bitcoin ETFs, even though demand was lower. Most of them planned to put at least 3% of their assets into the products in the coming weeks and months. Matt is very optimistic about Bitcoin both in the short and long run because of this unexpected response from institutional investors. For the past 15 years, they have ignored and put down the most popular cryptocurrency. It's been a wonderful, uplifting trip. I was on the road for 20 days, giving talks at workshops. As an example, I spoke at the RAI's biggest and most important meeting for registered investment advisors, RAI's. I went up to the main stage and talked to them about Bitcoin for an hour. I went to Colorado, Miami, and even London. I really only wanted to do 2 things. The first thing I wanted to do was make the case for Bitcoin and Bitwise's ETF BITB. But 2, I wanted to know what people who work in finance think about Bitcoin. It's been 2 months. Are they really accepting it? Do they do it all at once? Does it only apply to regular people who spend money? I have 3 quick points to make, and then we can talk about them in more detail. The first is that it's not just shopping. Some of the smartest family offices in the world, run by people with $50 to $100 billion, were there. I met financial advisors and family offices. I met with experts for institutions. It was people from wirehouse companies like Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, and others that I met. They're starting to use Bitcoin. It's not all at once, but they are. They are some of the people who buy our ETF, so it's not just regular people. The second important thing I learned is that 3% is now the new 1%. I tweeted this. Bitwise has been helping this group of professional investors for almost 7 years. To break that down, the word was get off zero for those 7 years. Give something away. You could give away 1% of your wealth. We almost said it in a shy way. What might go wrong? You might lose 1% of your money if it all goes away. Do that at least. These days, folks say 3% or 5%. I heard that those 2 numbers were a lot higher than 1%. There are still people who haven't allocated, but those who have are talking about 3% to 5%. The last thing I really understood after this trip is that the money that has been pouring into these ETFs over the last 2 months, they've been the fastest growing ETFs of all time, will keep coming in, but not in a straight line. They will keep coming in for years to come. I'm saying this because I've become more and more aware of all the other choices that need to be made. We were happy when the SEC finally approved an ETF after 10 years of waiting. But now we need Morgan Stanley, UBS, Wells Fargo, Raymond James, and all the other platforms that control trillions of dollars in wealth to also approve ETF. And they're not going to do it all at once. That's what it meant. Some are going to do it in May or June, and some are going to do it in January of next year. I think we will have a lot of very strong arrivals over the next few years. I came back from the trip feeling more positive than when I started. I was a little tired and maybe a little worse for wear, but it was an exciting trip. I think of 2 things right away. One is the starting amount of money coming in. Sure, I thought it would do well, but this is really out of this world. It's not believable. This is the Bitcoin ETF that I think is the best, but it's not the only one. It's not even the biggest, and we're growing faster than the gold ETF did when it first started. Really, this is off the charts. We're the 8th fastest growing ETF of all time, out of the 10,000 or so ETFs that have been released so far. That's exactly what I meant. Yes, it's crazy, so the size of the flows has really shocked me. What's more, I spent 6 years fighting all kinds of known FUD like criminal use FUD, energy use FUD, tether FUD, and Craig Wright FUD. I think a lot of us have done the same. Those things are no longer there. No one asked me anything about those things, and it seems like people decided overnight that Bitcoin isn't going away. And those questions don't matter if Bitcoin isn't going away. The questions that are now 1%, 3%, or 5%. During his talk with Crypto 101, the CEO of Bitwise says that his earlier 1% estimate could go up to 5% because big companies like BlackRock and Fidelity are now investing in Bitcoin. Investors aren't just talking about getting off zero, they want to put more of their money into Bitcoin. Let's go back to the interview where Matt talks more about how Bitcoin's demand changes BlackRock, Jamie Dimon, and the chance that the SEC will approve a spot Ethereum ETF in May. That's exactly what I meant. Yeah, some say there's not enough Bitcoin, which I agree with in every way. When you look at the Bitcoin market as a whole, you can see that miners are creating new Bitcoin that needs to be sold. As you said, the ETFs are buying up 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, and 10x that right now. So the price can only go up until people who have held on for a long time agree to sell. Now, the fact that we've hit resistance at the all-time high shouldn't come as a surprise. As a matter of fact, if you've been an owner for a long time, you'll probably wait until prices reach all-time highs before you sell. From a behavior point of view, it wouldn't surprise me either if we hit a wall at $100,000. You invest for the long run. You might have said, when Bitcoin hits $100,000, I'll sell some. We are all people. There is a reason for those numbers. I don't know where people sell things above that. No doubt about it though. Price will go up until someone wants to sell. Jamie Dimon would have said it was a pet rock 2 years ago, and Sandbank Manfred would have said it was going to $1 million, not in the crypto business. And you're right that that's an unfair fight if you're good at traditional banking. Today you still have Jamie Dimon, but on the other side is Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world. On the other side is the CEO of JP Morgan. He also says that this is a big part of the future. It's possible that it will become the most valuable money ever. It keeps money safe. Also, that gives someone who hasn't tried crypto a balance. It's simple to brush it off. If you only trust people who are against crypto. But now in the TradFi world, there are about the same number of people who are skeptical about the product and people who are very bullish on it. So each person has to decide for themselves, and some are leaning toward Bitcoin. It's enjoyable. This is really cool. Yeah. Bitwise worked on this for more than 5 years to try to get a Bitcoin